Okay, the first test I'm going to do is shoulder external rotation passively. So, get the shoulder in 90 degrees of abduction, stabilize the humerus, the humeral head. So have one axis pointing straight down to the ground, the other one following the arm, and then the axis on the olecranon. And she has 97 degrees of external rotation. Same thing on the other side. .95 degrees of external rotation. The next thing we're going to do is accessory motion of the AC joint, inferior, anterior, and posterior. So starting off with inferior, I'm going to come in. The patient's going to be supine, and I'm going to be applying a direct pressure on the distal clavicle in an inferior direction. So find the distal clavicle, and with my thumb, I'm applying that inferior pressure. Do the same thing on both sides. Okay, for anterior, instead of applying anterior pressure on the distal clavicle, I'm going to apply posterior pressure on the proximal acromion. So I'm going to stabilize the distal clavicle and apply a posterior pressure on the acromion. Do that bilaterally. Okay. That's normal. Next, I'm going to have her sit up on the side of the table. Feet touching. And then I'm going to do a posterior glide, or it says posterior motion by stabilizing the acromion and applying a posterior pressure to back towards me of the distal clavicle. Do the same thing on this side. Okay. Next thing we'll do is anterior glide of the glenohumeral joint. Grades 1 through grades 4. So we'll have the patient cattywampus on the table. Just so the glenohumeral joints off the table, but the scapula is still stabilized. I'm going to also stabilize with my opposite hand on the distal humerus. Just going to assess motion real quick, and then you can do grade 1, which is 0 to 25% of the motion at a high amplitude. Grade 2 would be 0 to 50% of the motion at a slower amplitude. Grade 3 would be 50 to 100% of the motion at a slow amplitude. And then grade 4 is kind of at that end range, fast amplitude. Do the same thing on the other side. So grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. Okay, so the next test I'm going to do, I'll have you sit on the side and we're going to do the external rotation lag sign. So I'm going to place the patient in 20 degrees of scaption in complete external rotation. I'm going to ask the patient to hold this position and when I let go, and we want her to keep that position. Good, so that's a negative test. If she was unable to hold that position, that would be a positive test, which could mean that there's some infraspinatus pathology. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Take her to full external rotation, ask her to hold this position. Again, negative test. The last thing I'm going to do is contractile unit testing for shoulder flexion. So I'll ask the patient to kind of be in that 90-90 shoulder elbow position. Well, not 90-90, just 90 degrees of elbow flexion. I'm checking shoulder flexion, so I'm going to say I want you to kind of maintain this position, match my resistance, don't let me move you. So I want you to match my resistance and don't let me move your arm while stabilizing the scapula from behind. Is there any pain with that? No. And make sure when you're applying the pressure that you're gradually increasing and offloading the pressure. So we're going to do the same thing. Hold here, don't let me move you. Anything with that? No. And that's it.